This is the Mets Postcast, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
A rare defensive miscue and some cold bats spoil the season debut for Kodai Senga in 2025. Welcome in, everybody, to the Locked On Mets Postcast. I am your host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the year for instant reaction from everything that happened in the game tonight. And we have a lot to unpack. Kodai Senga's season debut, some defensive miscues from the New York Mets, their bats, and it might be time to be concerned about somebody in that lineup. But before we dive into all of that, want to welcome you all in. And for those of you who are new, a little bit of a disclaimer. No, nothing is wrong. You don't need to adjust your television screens or your tablet screens or your podcast device. This is a brand new thing that we have here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel and the Locked On Mets podcast feed. These are your Locked On Mets postcast after each and every Mets game. Ryan has not gone anywhere. You're still getting all of the same content from him. You just have me after each of these games instantaneously. When the game is over, we push that go live button and we are here for you on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. So if you're watching us live, or you're watching us after the fact, or you're listening to us in the podcast feed, I just want to quell any concerns because I've seen a lot of them here in the early going. Nothing is changing for you, just some bonus, some additional content for you covering the New York Mets. So I've got you after each and every game throughout the year, and tonight was a tough one for the New York Mets. Kodai Senga makes his season debut, and in his first start, a lot of good, some not so good, and at the end of the day, a loss in the stat sheet for Kodai Senga, who showed off that ghost fork in part to leading towards his 8 strikeouts that we saw from him tonight. You saw the feeling out process. You saw him kind of needing to get back into flow, get back into rhythm. I mean, let's face it, he made one start last year against the Braves and then joined this team during the postseason, during the NLDS against the Philadelphia Phillies. So not a ton of activity for Kodai Senga in 2024. So that acclimation period, you saw it in the early going. A home run in the first, a couple hard hit balls, and Miami jumped out to a 2-0 lead. After that, Kodai Senga settled down quite a bit. That second inning, a pair of strikeouts. Luis Torrens helped out his starter by throwing out a base runner at second base, and Brandon Nimmo provided a run to get the Mets back within a run. And then Kodai Senga got 3 more strikeouts in that third inning with the ghost fork. He had that thing working, but it is the fourth inning where things kind of broke down for the New York Mets. And it's the first time I think we've done this here on these postcasts, but in a loss, we have a turning point, and it's the one that you probably could expect.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
It's the fourth inning of this baseball game where it leads off with an error from Francisco Lindor, his second of the game by that point. Just an uncharacteristic set of errors from Francisco Lindor, who is back in the lineup tonight. He provided his first hit of the year. It was an RBI that tied the game at 2, but this game is going to be remembered for those miscues that he had, specifically the one in the fourth inning to lead off the inning, because if not for that, Kodai Senga's probably out of that inning. Instead, he had to get one additional out. He ended up walking a batter with 2 outs, and then it was Paulie with a 2 RBI, 2 out double that put the Marlins in front 4-2. And that was all she wrote for the New York Mets in this game tonight. Did not have a lot to offer at the dish. Put some runners on in the 9th inning of this game. Juan Soto did what Juan Soto is accustomed to do, not try to do too much there in the 9th inning of that game. Just drew a walk and then set the table for Alonso, for Nimmo, for Vientos. But unfortunately, the Mets were unable to cash in as they fell in the second game of this series, 4-2. And the offensive stats here in this one, not a lot to be excited about. Brandon Nimmo provided his second home run of the year. Like we mentioned, he had a 2-hit game, but the only multi-hit game in the lineup for the Mets. A lot of offers. Juan Soto 0 for 3, that walk that we mentioned. Pete Alonso 0 for 4 in this game. Mark Vientos 0 for 4. Luis Torrens 0 for 3. Jose Siri 0 for 3 in the 9 spot. So some cold bats on a night where Sandy Alcantara and the Miami Marlins really had things locked in, not to use the pun, but they were locked in at one point in this game. I think it was 12, 13, 14 Mets in a row. I stopped keeping track after the broadcast said 12 Mets in a row were retired. Just a tough night for the Mets and their bats. And after all the good that we saw yesterday in their offensive outburst, the question was, would they be able to bounce back? Would they be able to kind of continue what they did in that game yesterday and show that that was not just a mirage, that they had kind of found something? Well, in this game tonight was back to some of the stuff that we saw in that series against Houston. So a so-so night for Kodai Senga. You look at the 8 strikeouts, you look at the ghost fork, but really needed some time to settle into this game. That first inning, a couple hard hit balls directly on him. That set the tone kind of early. And then the fourth inning, a bad play by Lindor sets the table for the inning to kind of continue. And then the 2-out walk from Kodai Senga, you just can't have that, because it doesn't matter who you play in. They'll make you pay for mistakes like that. And that's exactly what the Marlins did by breaking through with that 2-run, 2-out double. And that was it. Game was over at that point. 4-2 was the score at that point. That was the final score in this game. I want to give some kudos when we come back on the other side and also talk to you about what you'll be talking about tomorrow before the Mets try to get their first series win of the year. So we'll do that right here on the other side. March Madness, it is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, brand new customers are going to get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. With tournament games happening all the time, there's always something exciting to bet on. Maybe you want to get in on some of the baseball action as well. Well, you can just check out the FanDuel app because it's simple to use. And when I win, I get paid instantly. There is no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action the rest of the tournament. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website, it is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros out there looking for an extra edge, how about their free Trade Master program that offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order? Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it is your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. I see you in the YouTube live stream, live chat here on the Locked On Mets postcast. There's some Brett Beatty hate in there. The Mets bats sleepwalking. Yes, Jonathan, it was a tough night for the Mets and their bats, but it was not a tough night for somebody who has become a bit of a weapon for the Mets in the bullpen. And one of the things that I want you to get used to here on these postcasts is I'm not just going to harp always on the bad. We're going to try to find the bright spot. We're going to try to find if there's at least one thing to talk about in the positive, and it is Max Kranick, who tonight, 3 innings, no hits, didn't allow a run, didn't walk anybody, 1 strikeout. Yeah, he induced some hard contact, but got those balls hit right at his defenders and did not run into any trouble. And that is the weapon that Max Kranick is for this bullpen. We talked about it yesterday that this team has 3 unique weapons that can be multi-inning relievers for them. And Max Kranick showed to you tonight that he is one of those dudes. I mean, he came in this game and settled things down. He gave the Mets a chance, right? 3 innings of shutout baseball out of the bullpen. It was just up to the Mets bats to wake up and to do something in this game, and they just were unable to do that. And I see some people in the chat talking about second base and the problem that it is, and so let's talk about it right here. It was Luis Angel Acuna who got the start tonight at second base. Brett Beatty came in as a pinch hitter, and I didn't think Acuna played terribly tonight. He had a hard hit ball, got a hit, a double. I think his ground out was the second hardest hit ball of the game tonight. I thought he played some great defense. And right now, if you had to ask me between Luis Angel Acuna and Brett Baty, who should be playing second base every day, I think this is Luis Angel Acuna's job right now. And I know that Brett Baty is still going to get his opportunities, but I just think the defense that Acuna is providing right now, I think he's performing better at the dish so far. And I just think of the two guys, while Jeff McNeil is out, Luis Angel Acuna has done more. And I think you view him as the more sure-handed guy defensively. And I liked what I've seen so far from the bat. This guy's not going to hit 330, 350 and just be a linchpin to this offense. He's not going to be the engine starter for the New York Mets and their offense. That's what Francisco Lindor is here for. That's what Juan Soto is here for. Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Mark Vientos. That's what those guys are here for. Luis Angel Acuna is a complementary piece. He's not his brother. He is a guy that is supposed to just be a really good contact hitter, play some good defense, provide that speed, provide that defense late in games. That is what he is supposed to be. And so far, I think he's provided a good amount of what his scouting report tells us that he should be. Brett Baty, it looks like, is struggling, and you worry about the confidence of Brett Baty, and you worry about him getting into his own head. Had a really nice spring, was really impressive, but when you're in and out of the lineup and there's not the consistency to your playing time, it becomes a little difficult to get hot, to gain that confidence, and to trust and believe in what you've been working on in the spring. But that is not what you will be talking about tomorrow. I think it is time for us to sound the alarms for somebody.
This is what you'll be talking about.
It is time to have a conversation about Mark Vientos, because I'm starting to get a little bit concerned of what we're seeing here so far. You saw him in the at-bat in the 9th inning tonight be frustrated with himself, go back to the dugout, express that frustration. I don't know what he threw, but he threw something, and it looked like it broke off into about 100 little pieces, whatever he slammed down. He's frustrated. I think we're all frustrated. 2 for 19, 2 for 20. To start the year, still looking for that first home run, still looking for him to be that number 5 hitter that we know he can be. This guy thrived in the pressure-packed environment of the postseason. Against the Brewers, against the Phillies in that NLDS, came up with big hit after big hit a big home run against the Dodgers after they walked Lindor to load the bases to face him. I mean, this dude thrived in that pressure. So this is not a case of the pressure getting to him now that he had a big postseason. I just think he's off to a really slow start, and it's something that I'm concerned about, because this Mets offense can't have multiple guys off to slow starts. And you look up and down the batting order right now, Lindor, after his first hit tonight, hitting .067 for the year. You see Pete Alonso, I know he had the grand slam last night. That was nice. 176 for the year. Mark Vientos, 105 right now. Juan Soto, he's doing what he's doing. He's got a 455 on base percentage. But you need the other guys to get hot. And it's a real slow, sluggish start for the Mets in that regard. They broke out the other night in the first game of this series against Miami. Got to see more of that in the finale tomorrow. And hopefully they lock up their first series win of the season. I just want to remind everybody one more time before we get out of here, because I have seen it a lot. I've seen it in the comments of the postcast. I've seen it in the comments on the Locked On Mets episodes that Ryan has been dropping. Nothing is changing with things here over on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. Ryan still got you covered each and every day with those longer form deep dive episodes. So none of that's changing. Monday through Friday, he has got you covered. These Mets postcast, something in addition to your regularly scheduled content here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. We did these last year at the end of the regular season and into the postseason. We've moved them over here to the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. So nothing's changing. I know it's a new face, and I know it's a new concept that we have here. This is just your spot after games to share your thoughts, those instant reactions. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your feedback, what you're thinking is going right and going wrong with this baseball team. That is what this place is for. But Ryan still has you covered all throughout the week. Don't worry, there'll still be another episode in your podcast feed when you wake up tomorrow morning, in addition to this instant reaction episode. So nothing's changing in that regard. And again, I've been seeing a lot of this, so I want to make sure that I let everybody know what is going on here as we are 5 games in to the season. The Mets will look to get back on track. They will look to win their first series of the year, and they will pass the baton off to Clay Holmes. And Clay Holmes will be looking to bounce back from his so-so performance on opening day and look to show us a little bit of what we saw from him during the spring. And hopefully the Mets bats find their consistency. And this looks more like it did when they scored 10 runs the other night against Miami and not the cold streak that they had tonight. I will say, if there's one other positive in the ninth inning, despite the struggles that they had, they got runners on, right? Soto draws a walk. Nimmo lines a base hit right back up the middle to put some ducks on the pond. And then you get to Vientos and Winker, and they're just unable to come through. They have to start doing that. They have to start converting those opportunities into runs. I get it, but we are 5 games into the season. Let's see this after a month. Let's see this after 2 months before we start sounding the major alarm bells for this team. That is going to do it for us here on the Locked On Mets postcast. We are back tomorrow. Some mid-afternoon baseball. I believe it is a 4:40 first pitch for Clay Holmes and the New York Mets. So hopefully the Mets can take the third game of this series. They can win their first series of the year, and they can get back to 500, and hopefully the Bats show us something here in the finale of this series. Appreciate everybody joining us, whether it is on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel or you're listening to us in the Locked On Mets podcast feed. We will talk to you tomorrow after the Mets conclude their series with the Miami Marlins. I've been Chris Schubert. This is the Locked On Mets postcast. Everybody have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.